I still don't believe it. No, I don't believe it. No, no. I don't want to believe it. Out of all the division winners, this is the one I kind of don't want to admit it's true. That means I'm willing to accept that the Panthers division winners is more understandable. But sometimes things happen and you just have to acknowledge it or make fun of it. Hey everybody, I'm Cortez and I'm a critic and welcome back. We're continuing our 2025 NFL recap. And today we're talking about the division winner of the NFC North, the Bears. So, the Bears, what can I say? It's nice. As much as I was so disappointed in them winning, I do have a soft spot for Chicago. I think it's just the allure of Soldier Field and the helmets, and then especially when it's like December weather and the grass is dead and dry, and you see every breath is just is the steam coming out. It feels like football. And then to hear that they might be going to Indiana just makes you feel like corporate greed. Greed is good. Yes, if you have the money, greed is good. But for the Bears, this year was full of greed. Greed of winning, greed of being good, greed of a new head coach. Greed, 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 greed. And in some instances, you kind of always felt like, all right, this is how they're gonna lose. This is what's gonna trip them up. This is gonna lead to their demise. Even though I did give them a 10-7 record as their high point, I believe that Benny Johnson was a good coach, and I feel like Caleb Williams would have been better. Plus, I gave a lot of credit to the Bears defense. Hindsight 2020 maybe on that one. There's something about the Bears that I felt like they could do it. And then they got, Loveland, they're the tight end, which I'm really surprised they got, but he turned out to be a phenomenal acquisition, which kind of proves to both that Warren and Loveland were both great tight ends for their respective team. Both were number 84. Conspiracy? Maybe. Coincidence? More than likely. And then you see Caleb, and Caleb, he turned it around. He finally got what he wanted to be. A good quarterback with BS heroics. And I hear people always say this question of, did they take advantage of a very easy schedule? I would probably say not as easy as New England's schedule, because they still had the NFC North. And they still lost to teams like the Vikings in the NFC North. And Green Bay didn't take advantage of their stuff in the NFC North. So it's a little column A, a little column B. But for Chicago Bear fans, I think they're very excited for the future, even though there's a chance that their team might be sent to Indiana because of corporate greed and stuff. But let's talk about the positives. So you went 11-6, won the division, all was good in the world. Your best game that I think solidify the Bears are for real, even though your opponent was not for real. Week 13 at Philadelphia. Now, Philadelphia was going through an identity crisis of their own. They're trying to figure out who they were. And the Bears, at this point, they were on a win streak, a very long win streak. Now, granted, their opponents were the Bengals, the Giants, the Vikings, the Steelers, and all of them were, one possession scores, victories. Still victories, but one possession. So Philadelphia who, compared to everyone else, was probably a more complete team. And plus, Philadelphia is trying to, regain control of placement when it comes to the playoffs. So, a win against another division foe seemed it had to be done. But the game that I watched, and the biggest thing I felt like, aha, that's the blueprint for the Bears. As much as Benny Johnson loves his offense, I feel like what this game proved is that the Bears offense is core to its Bears legacy. Run the ball, have a good defense. The Bears in the game had 281 yards rushing. They nearly had 40 minutes of time of possession. This was a game that was clearly on the backs of the backs. I had a coach back in high school that always said this: we're going to run it until they stop it. Now, granted, he meant the same 2 or 3 plays and Steelers stops it, but for Chicago in this game, it clearly was a case of we're going to keep running the ball until they can stop it, and Philadelphia just never had an answer. And I feel like every time Philadelphia had an answer, whether forced a punt or a stop, as soon as the Bears got the ball back, it's like, and they're going to eat the clock more. They're going to keep eating that clock. And watching that game, because I believe it was like a primetime center game, you can see the Philadelphia fans getting frustrated. And I feel like this was one of those games for Philadelphia fans. They're thinking, we're doomed. Like, it just doesn't feel confident. Chicago was a team that felt like if you don't take them seriously, they will embarrass you. And not embarrass you like by performing, they will steal that win from you. And that's something that I feel like that was just the whole segment. That's why even the wins they had against, like, the Saints or the Giants, it was like, yeah, they got the win, and it wasn't the dominant win you probably wanted, but they still managed to find a way to win. That's why I was very surprised that the Rams, who struggled with the Panthers and struggled with the Bears, I was like, whew, man, both the Panthers and the Bears could have been, who knows, competing for the NFC Championship against Seattle, and more than likely lost to Seattle. But still, that's how close the Bears were to getting that opportunity. Kind of creepy. But it's not all no sunshine and rainbows here in Chicago. Your worst game, though, took place Week 8 at Baltimore. Now, the losses you guys have, I can see arguments for it. But the big reason why I put the Baltimore game as your worst game is the Bears came with a sense of like, yeah. And then Baltimore, who everyone was just feeling a little bit like, there's no Lamar Jackson. We could win this one. And Derrick Henry, who didn't really have it individually, but overall, this is the stats for the Ravens in the game. 177 yards rushing, 170 yards passing, 355 yards overall. Chicago, 96 yards rushing, 276, and 372. So you would see it looks on paper that it seems very evenly matched. But the big factor why this is the worst game is you guys Ravens were like dead in the water. And I feel like a lot of people were going into this game thinking this is a chance for, one, the Bears to do what everyone wants them to do, is kind of put the Ravens out of their misery. Even though they got Huntley, this was clearly put the Ravens out of their misery kind of game. And it was Week 8. And the Bears were coming off wins. They were on a win streak. They were confident. They seemed to be the they seemed to be the better team. Didn't happen. Scoreboard's misleading because at one point it was a one-possession game. But this was very much in the realm of whatever happened, Chicago did not look past it or blinked or what have you. This was a game that probably should have ended the Ravens season by Week 8 and should have cemented the Bears as potentially the top team in the NFC. Or at least the top 10 in the NFL, with a big confident win on the road at Baltimore. Lamar Jackson or not. It didn't happen. It's the worst game because at least at the time it felt like you're not ready for big time. Now, of course, the argument could be like, what about the Green Bay game? I'm like, wasn't as bad as this one. This one was a double-digit loss. It was on the road. There's no Lamar Jackson. You kind of feel like they're easier pickings. Green Bay is a division foe that has a little more stakes at it. This one was, there's no Lamar Jackson. They're vulnerable. Finish them off. And you guys didn't. It's your worst game. Because if Lamar was there, I'd be like, okay, lost to Lamar. Probably would not be a worse game. But he wasn't, so. MVP for the Bears. I have to give it to Caleb Williams. I have to give it to him. This I would only give it to Benny Johnson, the coach and the staff he brought with him, but I only give it to players and fans. If that's the case, then I give every coach the L or the win. But this was clearly what Caleb was willing to, one, learn a whole new system from a very competent coordinator who developed players very quickly. Now got the head coaching job, so he has to learn this philosophy, this Benny Johnson scheme. And if you look at the stats, Caleb Williams hits the perfect stats. He has over 25 touchdowns, and he kept his interceptions to single digits. Now, some of those touchdowns were just throw it up, and some of those interceptions was, oops, kind of like a boneheaded throw. Like, Caleb, come on, man, you got to be smarter than that. But here's something that I would address a little bit. Caleb was 58% completion. Not something you want to hang your hat on as a competent quarterback, to be under 60% of it. But I'm giving Caleb the benefit of the doubt, was that he was able to show what good coaching can do, which means he can adapt to good coaching. He excelled well. And yeah, this was clearly a case of Caleb Williams proving that he is capable of being coached. And that, to me, for a young quarterback, especially now that's his second one already in his young career, is promising. And a lot of his performance, even though they were like just meh, proved that Caleb Williams, at least for right now, and the Bears still have not had a 4,000 yards passing, and Caleb was so close. So we'll see what next year brings. Maybe he'll finally get there. But to me, major improvement from his rookie season. A lot of it's good to coaching, which means Caleb is a good teacher. I mean, a good student to the teacher. Grade for Chicago. I had to give them an A because they won the division and they surpassed expectations and then some. It'll be easier to say that maybe they're a B, but I think even in the highest compliment you can give during the preview part of the process, I think everyone was still thinking it was Detroit's and Green Bay's division, and Chicago was fighting for a wild card spot. And that's how I felt. Like a lot of people felt that way too. But for them to come into the season and not only just get to the playoffs finally, but to win the division, they went above expectation. So if I'll give them a B, it just takes away it discredits them for what they did winning the division. Even though they did lose, it was still that feeling of like, man, Chicago is fighting. Chicago is fighting. So that's the part where I'm like, I have to give the Bears a little bit more credit than to his parts. I mean, they also won a playoff game against division foe in Green Bay, so yeah, even though this is more of a regular season grade, still the fact that, they took care of Green Bay when they had to. So to me, this is the Bears A. Good grade for an A. Now, something that Bears fans have not had to deal with in a while, but a late first round pick that did not involve a trade. You guys are currently picking at 25. What do you guys really need? When I was researching the Bears, one big stat says that they have one of the lowest pressures percentage. And I was like, really? They need pass rush help? Huh. I guess they kind of hit it well. But if that's the case, then let's go all in on pass rushers. Now, because they picked 25th, I had to go next round, third round level of player by positions. And these are the three that I believe will probably be around that circle of picks by this time in the first round. And a lot of them have that upside and potential. So no need to rush him in, but if they potential well, that's 5 years of potential star talent they don't pay big money to yet. Zion Young, defensive end, Mizzou. High motor, a little bit of a project player. Can tweak him in, put him in the rotation, see what works. Keldrick Falk. I put his name a lot, but the big thing I keep hearing from a lot of scouts is that he's a good pass rusher and needs help in the run defense. Had one good real season that put him this so high. So I heard people compare him to like what Mike Green was from Marshall last year. High upside, but didn't really show much, so we'll see. And TJ Parker, edge. I've seen this guy go as high as top 15 to the guy being the top pick in the second round. And the Bears are just in that nice sweet spot of in between. But I believe that even if it's not one of these three gentlemen, I believe the Bears will probably address some sense of defense, probably in the pass rush department or the defensive line department. So I don't be surprised if the Bears go with that target audience of positions. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Bears. As you can see, I contained myself from saying the Bears 45,000 times like most obnoxious people like me would do. Now, we're going to go to Detroit because it's on the way. But also Green Bay is, whatever. We'll go to Detroit because I just have to really be like, what happened to you guys? Has the magic been gone? Are we done biting kneecaps? Or was this like most good teams? Sometimes things happen. Sometimes things happen. But we'll find out next time. But until then, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic. Thank you so very much for watching.